Hey guys, I just got finished watching Captain Marvel, and I'm very conflicted. Kind of enjoyed the movie for what it was. I do admit I went into it thinking that this movie was going to be bad, but it wasn't terrible. It just didn't really leave me satisfied. You'd think after 1920 movies that they would have a much better formula for this. And I don't know. This movie kind of left me hanging. I will go over the entire movie, kind of like by plot wise, but Samuel L. Jackson for me and the cat are the best part of this movie. Brie Lawson really felt kind of blank. Like a lot of her lines felt forced. She didn't seem invested in the movie a lot of the time. And for me, I couldn't get into it. Uh, in the beginning, though, like I felt like a big rush, like I was enjoying it. Okay, maybe this will be different. And then after the first like 20, 30 minutes of the movie just goes down, and I only enjoyed the parts with Nick Fury and the cat. And the supporting cast did much more for me than what Captain Marvel did. I felt that she was too strong. They never really showed what her weakness was. Maybe I did see a few things like um, maybe power circuits going on because her powers in the comic book was that she absorbed energy and redirected it in her photon blast. But here it just seemed like she was just a pew pew pew, I win everything she did, and it just felt very very stale. Um, I would have liked to see her have some kind of weakness so that everything would have not just been really easy. The other part of this story, it's the pacing. A lot of the pacing in this could have been done in different, like certain parts of the movie could have been back and forth. The flashbacks, the nightmares. I don't know. It just this movie wasn't bad. It's not as bad as Iron Man 3, but not as good as Black Panther. That's kind of like where I stand on this. Um, I don't know. Uh, the CGI in Samuel Jackson was pretty good. At some points, I got taken out of it. The jokes were okay. The only one I didn't like was pretty much the dick joke, and that's about it. There's a lot of undertones of feminism and white dudes being terrible people, but I mean, I just didn't even look at it. It was kind of irritating, but I mean, if that's what they want to do, it's fine. I tried to focus more on enjoying the movie, but there was really a lot of like, oh, women are held back by men, and once we let them be unleashed, they're a force to be reckoned with. So I'm gonna go over the movie. This is all spoilers, so if you haven't watched it yet, I could say this is a great DVD watch. I don't think it's worth your $12 at the movie theater to watch this. But the story goes like this. You start off with her having a nightmare, and her name is Veers. She's having nightmares about uh, an accident, and she sees a scroll attacking her. Now, she wakes up from her dream. She goes and trains with her commander, Jan Rog, who is Jude Law, and is trying to train her to control her abilities. You then immediately meet the Supreme Intelligence and telling her to keep her emotions in check. Another quote unquote, her emotions are keeping her from being who she is. they go on a mission for spy intel. Well, on the mission, you're introduced to the Skrulls, who we believe are an invading race of shapeshifting aliens trying to take over the Kree Empire. Veers is captured, and she's memory probed. But of course, she easily escapes and lands on Earth, where she meets Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson. But they're interrupted in their meeting by Skrulls attacking them. Nick Fury kills one of them, and then takes one back. This is the dick joke that they have when they're doing an autopsy. Now, Veers is having memories and nightmares, and in these nightmares, she takes some cues about where she needs to go. She remembers being a pilot for the Air Force, and she meets up back with Nick Fury, and they go together to infiltrate a base to find out any information about herself. At the base, they get ambushed by a Skrull who's pretending to be one of the SHIELD bosses, and they have to flee. They find out they need to go to Louisiana to meet one of her former friends, Maria Rambeau. While this is happening, they get there on a, I guess, first-generation Quinjet. They get there, they meet up. She doesn't know who she is, but wait. The Skrulls are already there. And they tell her that they're actually refugees, and that the Kree Empire is just mercilessly destroying them because they didn't want to be part of the Empire. So, they tell them what needs to happen, and she has this little experience where she hears a recording that one of the the Skrull brings back, and dun dun dun, we find out that she's actually an American pilot, and she was being helped by a renegade Skrull who had come to Earth to use the Tesseract as an engine to help her people fly to a different part of the galaxy. But they're ambushed by some Kree, and she has to blow up the engine because they don't want to get their hands on the Tesseract. And from this explosion, she is freaking given all these powers of Captain Marvel. Now, I will say one thing though. I got a very deep vibe of Mass Effect Andromeda when I started hearing about all this. You know, it's the suits and I started thinking like, man, this is like a story from Mass Effect Andromeda. By the way, I've left out that there is a cat. It's called Goose, and in the comics he was called Chewie, but that doesn't really matter. And he's a Flurkin. The best way to explain that is that he's some type of Cthulhu type monster, but in the form of a cat. And will eventually scratch Nick Fury's eye, and from the infection, he will lose his eye. That's how Nick Fury loses his eye. I don't know how they were going to tie that in, but it is how it is. Back to the main plot. They have to find a hidden lab in space that Lawson, the mentor, the hidden renegade Skrull, hid. They find it with Rambeau's help, but are ambushed by their former teammates. They have a huge fight, and once again, she gets trapped, and they need to find out her memories. And we see here that the Kree have put a power suppressor on her, and as she's talking to the Supreme Intelligence, when she's captured, they're telling her that what can be taken, what can be given can be taken away. She removes the suppressor, and she's given her full range of powers, which she instantly knows how to use. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Yon-Rogg asks help from Ronan the Accuser to come nuke the planet, because the planet has been, he lies and says, has been infested with Skrull. Well, now this is where it gets really I kind of laughed at this part of the video. She gets released from her bonds where she's trapped, and I'm Just a Girl starts playing. and she goes around whooping everybody's ass. Not only that, she, with her newfound powers, she takes out these warheads being launched at Earth, turns around and flies through space and destroys multiple ships until getting to the Kree main ship with Ronan the Accuser, where she starts pounding her fists, acting like, what you want, and they leave. Now, she decides that before this even happens, she goes back down to Earth because her former commander Jan Rog is down there, and we're assuming there's going to be a fight because he tries to goad her to have a one-on-one fight, like in the very beginning of the movie when she was training with him. Instead, she just blasts him with energy, puts him back in the ship, and tells the commander that she's coming for him and she's going to help the Skrull and all this crap, and sends him back. Why she does it, I don't really know. I mean, she could have just stopped somebody who is obviously a well-trained soldier from probably now. We assume he's going to be, punished severely for failing his mission and found out for lying. But we do know that many things we've taken, but it was kind of anticlimactic how that ended. She decides to help the Skrull find a new safe world. Before she leaves, she gives Fury a modified pager and says, if there's an emergency, call me and I'll come back. And she goes into space with in the hidden ship with the Skrull and flies next to him at light speed. I don't know what speed, but she can now go at light speed apparently. And we're left with, that's kind of like the end of the movie. That's it. And the cat swallows the Tesseract and regurgitates it years later on Nick Fury's desk. But we get two things here. She was apparently Carol Danvers, was called the Avenger, and this is how we find out Nick Fury's hero initiative, to find out more people. He decides to call it the Avenger Initiative because of this. And I mean, that's it. I mean, the only thing that's worth watching is the mid-credit scene where we kind of see the actual main cast of the Avengers trying to figure out what this pager was used for, and it shuts off, and they're trying to turn it back on, and she shows up and says, "Where's Fury?" and it ends. And there is another credit scene at the end, but that's the movie. I mean, that is the literal movie. That's the whole thing. And I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. It's again, the pacing, the way the characters, the plot. I don't know. I went out movies. And I wasn't a bad movie. I mean, I went with a friend and they enjoyed it. So I mean, if you turn your brain off and just try to enjoy it, I mean, I guess it's a decent. It's probably a high 6, low 7 in my opinion. I mean, I'd wait for the DVD. It's worth watching, because it's a Marvel movie. But despite that, that's about it. The best parts of the movie are the cat and Samuel L. Jackson. So that's it. I think this is worth a DVD watch. Save your money and go watch a different movie at the theater. Alright guys, thanks, and I'll see you next time on the next review.